Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Let Me Tell You Something. I am your host, Deldrian Audrey. So, by the time you see this episode, this will be our second visual, if you were, in the words of Beyonce, you are the visuals, baby. I'm the visuals, baby. And we're trying to figure this visual thing out. We're trying to work on posture, make sure the hair ain't looking ugly, make sure I'm not looking ugly, but who could ever look ugly? Let me look like me. Just kidding. Anywho, so yes, bear with me as we try to figure this out. But again, so by the time you see this, hopefully you've seen the first one. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Let me tell you something. Thank you for everyone who's listened so far. Available now on your favorite podcast platforms, but also Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart. You know the spiel by this point. Follow me on TikTok, Twitter, X, all that good stuff. So, how are y'all? I'm great. Thanks for asking. So, today's topic is going to be one that is near and dear to my heart, and that's cutting people off. And you may ask yourself, why is that near to my heart? Because as a psychology major, I am all about human relationships and community and what brings people to cut each other off from their lives. So that's what this episode's going to be all about. So even though I said this is near and dear to my heart, I was actually kind of joking. I was joking. What I really want to say is I struggle with cutting people off. Is it OT Genesis who sings that song? Your branch is way too high, you need to cut it. I think so. If you see this and it's not, correct me. But I struggle with that because I am somebody who likes to foster relationships. I'm not really the person to sever relationships. Although people have no problem severing relationships with me, but that's neither here nor there. So when it comes to my relationships in my life, I like to grow them and foster them, and I'm not really good at knowing when to let go. So throughout this episode, we're going to dive into that. When is it time to let a relationship go? I know for me, there have been plenty of instances where a relationship has run its course, whether or not it's, somebody who is a friend, a lover, a family member, an acquaintance. Sometimes relationships just run their course. I know I would love to be one of those people who say, oh, I've had the same friend since I was in kindergarten. That's not me. Now, I do have a best friend that I've been best friends with since, well, he's older than me. Was he in middle? Well, since middle high school. So he's still a good friend. I do have long-term friends, but these are relationships that you've had to work on. And we live in a culture now where basically people are very quick to say, oh, it don't cost me nothing. I'll cut you off in a minute. But is that really healthy? I don't think that it is because, like I may have said this in the last episode, one of the sad facts about life is people are going to disappoint you. People are going to let you down. Anytime you're in any environment where there are people, you are going to be let down by people. Heck, you're going to let people down. You are going to disappoint people. You are going to fall short. And would you think that because you fell short or something, someone should cut you off? 9 times out of 10, no. But it's very easy to look and say, well, oh no, they did me dirty, I'm going to cut them off. But what happens when you do someone dirty? Or do you ever do anybody dirty? Because we're all perfect, right? Everyone, especially on the internet, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, we're all perfect. We'll never do nothing to nobody. We're never the problem. But I'm here to tell you, you are. Sometimes. And so sometimes when someone disappoints you or hurts you or these things, that doesn't automatically mean you have to cut them off. Sometimes people make mistakes or they F up or however you want to frame it, because sometimes the magic is in the framing. Something can be more or less of something based on how you frame it. You know what? There are people in your life who, when they let you down, they do what? Acknowledge it, hold themselves accountable, and apply correction. And those are the people worth holding on to. And then there are people who let you down and they don't give a dang. They're like, oh well, get over it. Now, them are the people that you have to reconsider your relationship with them. Because guess what? You are the CEO of your life. It is up to you to hire, fire, and demote people accordingly. So, we're going to get into some scenarios as to when it is appropriate to hire, fire, and demote people in your life. So, get your snacks or whatever you get comfortable, and we'll be right back with more of Let Me Tell You Something. Hi, if you've enjoyed what you've heard so far, let's keep this party rolling over across social media platforms. Follow the Let Me Tell You Something Instagram account, Let Me Tell You Something, LEMMETELL, the letter USUMPAING. Follow me over on TikTok at Deldrian, DELDRIANAUTRY, or on X at Latristan1, LATRISTAN, the number 1. Now let's get back to more of Let Me Tell You Something. Anyway, so all I see when I'm doing something on TikTok is people talking about their relationship, and they say never go to Miami with your friends because y'all gonna fall out. Now I don't know, cause now I've never been to Miami, so I don't know what y'all be doing in Miami that causes people to fall out. But I do know is you never truly know anybody until you live with them, whether that be long term or temporary, or when you're in a scenario. Oh no, or when they get mad at you. Because when people get mad at you, that's how you really see. So when it comes to your friends, ask yourself about your relationships. Is this a reciprocal relationship? Are you always the one to make contact? If you decided, I'm not going to text this person or call this person, would you still hear from them? And if the answer is no, are they really your friend? If you sit on the phone or in person or wherever and are always listening to their problems, but they're not listening to yours, when you have a problem, they're nowhere to be found. Are they really your friend? When the only time they seem to be excited is when you are down and out, but when you are actually up, then they got that secret energy towards you, and it's like, something's a little off. They may not be your friend, and it's time to reassess the relationship. And I know that can be hard, especially when it's someone that you really connect with, that you have a bond with. And I personally feel like friendship breakups are harder than romantic relationships because your friends are the backbone of your life. If you can't count on the homies, who can you count on? If you can't go to Bella Noches, then where the heck can you go? So your friends are so intricate and important to your life. And I know for me, I don't have a friend group. I have friends. I'm a really good one-on-one friend. I don't necessarily have a friend circle, but I take the time to foster my friend relationships. I'm always calling people, checking on people, texting, knowing what's going on in people's lives, making time to see people. But sometimes I do feel like I am putting more into the relationships than I am getting. And I know what they say, oh, you shouldn't do things expect them in return. I'm here to tell you, I'm subscribed to that. If I am a friend who is always there for you, best believe when I need you, I am expecting you to be there. And if that makes me wrong when I'm not being altruistic, I don't care. I don't care. Because if I am showing up for you, I expect you to show up for me. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I do not think that it is anything wrong with expecting your friends to be there for you when you need them. Now, I don't know if any of y'all are fans of the show Insecure on HBO with the amazingly talented, phenomenal Issa Rae. Shout out to Issa. Issa and Molly, great case study for friendship. If you've never seen this show, I'm going to fill you in. Issa and Molly, best friends. Issa, God bless her soul, sis always had something going on. And there was a time where my girl was trying to get her life together. She was trying to get herself in a stable situation. And her and Molly have had ups and downs in their friendship over the course of the show's 5 seasons. But in season 4, they really hit a rough patch. And Molly was dating a man named Andrew. I almost call him Asian Bay. I think his name was Andrew. She was dating Andrew. And Andrew, I believe, worked in some kind of music promotion. He worked in some kind of promotion affair. And Issa was trying to start some kind of event planning. She was trying to do something for her community. And she asked her best friend, her sister Molly, to help her connect with Andrew so he could help her facilitate whatever she had going on. And Molly said no, because this was a new relationship and Molly had trouble with men and she didn't want to get involved. I also felt like I said earlier, I felt like in their relationship, Molly was the friend because she was a lawyer. She only knew Issa when Issa was struggling. And the minute Issa was not kind of sort of struggling, that's when she didn't know how to. When relationships change, that's when things, when people are on equal footing, or the dynamics change, people don't know how to act. And so basically, Issa went behind Molly's back and connected with Andrew through her lover at the time, Nathan, who was roommates with Andrew. And at the event, after this was, like, I think towards the middle of the season, there was some weird tension up until that point. But at the event, basically at the end, it was revealed that Issa had done this, and Molly had a problem with it. And me watching this is why I get it. You are tired of being the shoulder to lean on for Issa all the time. But if that is your friend, your homegirl, your sister, why would you want her to fail? Now, that could have been a whole conversation later on, but I felt like Molly wanted to see Issa fail, and I didn't like that. And sometimes the people in your life want to see you fail. And do I think Molly and Issa should have cut off their relationship? Not necessarily, but sometimes relationships need break. If you watch if you're like me, and you grew up watching TV, and your idea of friendship comes from shows like Will and Grace and Girlfriends and The Golden Girls and That's So Raven, Liz McGuire, all these shows that are about friendship, you really spend a lot of time with your friends, and sometimes you go through rough patches with your friends, but the real people, your real soldiers, are going to try and thug this stuff out with you and try to make things right. And Issa and Molly eventually got it back on track, but for a while, things were looking a little scary. The girls were shook, panicking. Shout out to the Queen, Nicki Minaj. There were some things going on. And so when it comes to your relationship, you have to ask yourself, is this relationship taking more than it's giving? Meaning, when you are with this person, do you feel like that you are putting more than you are getting back? Are you always the one who's putting forth all the effort in your relationship? And the answer to that is yes. It is time to reassess. It may be time to demote some people. Because like I said in a previous friendship episode, there are friends for every person. Sometimes there are people who are your party friends. There's some people who are your going out friends. There's some people that, your confidants. And there's just some people that you know. And when it comes to knowing what a relationship is time to cut it, when you feel like this relationship is draining, it is a burden, it is a chore to be friends with somebody, it's time to cut it. Now, friends are one thing, but family is a whole nother ballgame, because when it comes to your family, you can choose your friends, but you can't choose your family. So what do you do when your family is who you have to cut off? Now, for me, I have a good relationship with my parents. My dad in particular is my best friend. And so when I see people who are zero contact with their parents, it's very foreign to me, because that is not my reality. But what I've learned through life, just because something is not your reality, it doesn't mean that it's not important. And so I actually am very interested in really knowing the ins and outs of these relationships and what causes someone to cut off their parents. And sometimes parents can be toxic. Parents have a real, and I'm going to dive into parental relationships later on in the podcast. Sometimes I feel like parents don't understand the ways in which they can harm their children, whether it be physically or emotionally. And sometimes parents don't want to take accountability for the ways in which they have harmed their children, because they feel like, oh, I'm the parent, I don't have to respect you, I don't have to do this, I don't do that. But you do. Your child is a person with feelings and emotions and wants and needs and desires. And why should those not matter simply because they are your child? And so for people, I've seen stories of people talk about why they've gone no contact with their mother or their father or their grandparents or this. And I can sympathize and empathize with that, because relationships are give and take. But again, key thing, if you are giving more than you're getting, if you feel like you are putting in more than is being put out to you, then it is time to reconsider a relationship. If you feel like you are constantly having to walk on eggshells or navigate minefields or just always on the battlefield when it comes to a relationship with your parent or your family member, it may be time to cut the relationship. And I want to preface this by saying, cutting a relationship does not mean that you have to just stop talking to that person. It can mean like, you know what? I can only deal with you in doses. Or it could mean, you know what, I'm only going to see you at a family event in case of family. Or a friend. Like, we are not friends who share deep, dark secrets. We friends that do X, Y, and Z. You know, we go and we have a good time. It Cutting off relationships, I feel like it depends on the situation. Now, there's someone who is just so toxic. The best course of action probably is to go zero contact, which I watched a very interesting documentary over the weekend called, I think it's called The Unknown Number, the high school catfish story. And it was about this girl named Lauren, who I believe was 13 or 14. I think she was definitely under 16. And it was about her and her boyfriend, Owen, who was the same age as her. And they had been dating for about 2 years, which I don't know why 12-year-olds are dating for 2 years, but that's neither here nor there. And they were talking about when they started dating, they started receiving text messages from this unknown person. It's giving very much Pretty Little Lies. If I have any Pretty Little Lies, watch out that you know when the girls were getting messages from A. It was giving very much Pretty Little Lies. That's what it was giving. And they did it, and this person was sending very vulgar, vitriolic, salacious, overly sexual messages to them, both of them. And it got so deep that other people got involved because they really could not figure out who was doing this. And this went on for 2 years. And cousins got involved, friends at school. It was like a whole mess. Come to find out, the mama was the baby. Word to Jocelyn. The mama was the culprit. The mother. Now, I don't know how old she was, but she was given a very hard 40 plus. Like, she lived a hard life with hard teeth. And anyway, let me not talk about that later, because it's not nice. Anywho, the lady looked like she had been through some things. And she looked like what she had put her daughter and that young man through. Because, baby, when I tell you, I was shocked. The sad part, you know it's shocking when I already knew it was the mama before I watched it, and I still gasped when I found out it was the mama. To have your mother be sending these, and I'm talking about overly sexual messages to children, harassing, she literally told her daughter to unalive herself. That's what was going on in these messages. And when the daughter found this out, and throughout the documentary, she talked about still wanting to have a relationship with her mother. And I'm seeing a lot of discourse online about people saying, how could she want to do that? You have to understand, first of all, this is a child. And I don't think that sweet baby is really processing what her mother has done. And also, for me, I am never going to fault somebody for wanting to have a relationship with their parent, even when the relationship is toxic, because at the end of the day, that is your parent. And I'm not saying that in a way that should excuse behavior. These are very sacred relationships, and it's very easy when you are not in that kind of dynamic to say what someone should do. It's very easy in life to say, well, I would have did X, Y, and Z. Guess what? If you have not experienced that, don't say what you would or wouldn't do if you haven't been through it. Now, would I have cut that lady off? Baby, yes. Emancipation. I'm calling the authorities because, ma'am, what? I'm alive. But she has chosen not to. Well, I don't really know what's going on in a relationship, but the point I bring that up to say, relationships are tricky. And it is not, while people make it seem like it's so glamorous and so easy to cut people off, it ain't nothing to cut that off. It actually is, because when you love people, you don't want to see them leave your life. There's nothing worse than somebody who has been a staple in your life for an extended period of time and no longer being in your life. So how do you navigate that? I'm going to tell you after this quick break. And we're back. So, I have had relationships, friendships, because I never really had to cut off any family, you know. The Archie clan, we're tight. I don't know why I just talked about my last name. Well, y'all know my last name. Duh. Anyway, so I have not had to cut off family, but I've had relationships that have gone by the wayside, friendship-wise. And it's very hard, especially when someone is in your life for an extended period of time. So how do you navigate that? I'm not here to tell you that there's like a magic cure. You just take it day by day. And sometimes relationships can be repaired because I am a proponent of reconciliation and restoration and coming together. And sometimes, like Issa and Molly, you need a break. Sometimes cutting people off can be temporary and you come back. But if someone is disrespectful, and they've always been disrespectful, and they refuse to acknowledge their disrespect, they refuse to acknowledge your feelings or validate your feelings, then cutting them off may be the best course of action for you. And I'm not here to shame anybody who chooses to stay in these kind of dynamics because I know it is hard, but I am here to tell you that you are deserving of love, you are deserving of safety, and you are deserving to be valued for who you are and what you bring to the table. And if people cannot see that, whether it be friend or family, then they don't deserve to be in your life. You are deserving of the love that you give other people. And if that love isn't being reciprocated, then it is perfectly fine. You don't ever have to apologize for choosing your happiness and your peace of mind. And I don't care what nobody say. People can say, oh, well, turn the other cheek, or love your neighbor, or honor your mother and father, all these things. That's all fine and dandy. But at the end of the day, if people are coming to you with nothing but vitriol and toxicity, it is not a crime to say, you know what? You got it, and I'm out. And why should you feel bad about that? Why should you feel bad about choosing you? I gotta put me first. I gotta put me first. I gotta put me first. Lucius. Looked it up on TikTok for Empire. That's so funny. Cookie was right. She gotta put herself first because Lucius was trifling. And you may have some trifling people in your life. So one of the best ways to know when it's time to cut a relationship off is if you feel that relationship has become a burden. If you have tried to reconcile, if you've tried to address, because I feel like people just cut people off and don't actually try to fix things. Most things can be fixed, I believe, with a conversation. Talk to your people. How can someone know something is wrong if it's never been brought to their attention? Give them the opportunity to at least try and fix it. Now, if every time you bring something to someone and their immediate reaction is defensiveness and denial, then you know what? It may be time to reevaluate. Reevaluate. Cut off. Put on pause. A hiatus. Do what makes you feel whole and makes you feel safe and protected and loved and cared for. Because the relationships in our life are very important. They are a key part of who we are. And I'm a true believer of we become what we surround ourselves with. And if you are surrounding yourself with negativity and toxicity, that's what you're going to become. So surround yourself with people who may let you down, who may disappoint you, but they're going to try to reconcile that. They're going to work with you, not against you. Because sometimes you're going to let people down, and sometimes you're going to be let down. But the true meaning of community is working together to get to solutions and to lift each other up. And when that can't be facilitated, then it's time to reevaluate. So I hope I've given you a little something to reevaluate the relationships in your life if need be. And if you need to cut that off, cut them off. Deuces. Chris Brown. Anyway, this has been Let Me Tell You Something. I am Deldrian, and I will catch y'all next time. You know where to find us. And bye.